Hello and welcome to your tarot forecast for the new moon in Gemini, solar eclipse 2021. So if you are new to these readings, first of all, welcome. This happens in two parts. The first part of these new and full moon readings starts with a few oracle cards. First, a pull from the Total Betty Goddess deck to give us a goddess, a divine energy to preside over these new moon occurrences. And then later, an oracle deck of my choosing with 3 cards to convey past, present, future energy of what's happening around this current moon. After that, if you're on my Patreon, we dive into an in-depth 10 to 12 to 15 card reading from the tarot cards about the current circumstance. So if you find that the oracle cards that we pull at the beginning of this reading resonate for you, you might want to check out patreon.com/Michelle Shea and become a full-time fortune teller level member so that you can access these extended readings on both the new and full moon. You also get access to the lower tier levels of rituals, mini podcast, weekly pick-a-card readings, and monthly tarot scopes. So you can check out all of those things over on the Patreon. And without further ado, we will dive into our cards. So first of all, we have the Total Betty Goddess deck, a deck of my creation, 90s icons playing each of the goddesses. So if that's something that interests you, you can head over to michelleshaywalker.com to check that out. There's also an accompanying guidebook that is a coloring book. So if you want to know more about your cards, as well as have a little artistic outlet, also a beautiful thing to check out. So as I shuffle, I'm going to talk about the energy that I'm already getting from this new moon. First of all, super emotional. If you have found that since this morning on June 10th, or this week if you've been watching this later, you have been a little more emotional, or your conversations with friends and loved ones have been a little more volatile, definitely something that's coming up around this moon. Also, we are in the midst of a Mercury retrograde, so communication does get more difficult during this time period. The other thing I've been getting on an energetic level is I've been experiencing a little blockage in my own throat, which if I'm preparing for a reading, that's usually a sign that that's something I need to convey to the audience. It's not always my energy, it's the energy of the collective that I'm feeling. And basically what that told me today is that, as you can hear it, the throat's getting a little froggy. So be very selective of where you are conveying your opinions, where you are sending your voice. Because as of right now, there's not going to be a lot of open ears. So don't try to just be shouting at a wall to try and get your point across. So if you're on social media just shouting the masses your beliefs, that might not be the best use of your voice right now. Right now, it might be more about individual one-on-one conversations where you can feel out the vibe and you can answer questions. It's not a good time to just be using your voice for the sake of using your voice. Make sure you're being really intentional about it and sharing the things that you want to share with an audience that's ready to receive them so that you're not just wasting your voice. I got this feeling of just being so hoarse from trying to shout to people that aren't listening to you. And you know, save that for after Mercury goes direct. Right now, not only are people not listening, but they're not understanding properly. So really be selective of who you are conveying information to, how you're conveying information, and when you can kind of sit back and save your voice for a more opportune time to deliver that information. So our card from the Total Betty Goddess deck right off the top is the Furies. So the Furies are played by the trio from the First Wives Club, and they are a representation of the fact that there's strength in numbers, and then there's also a little play here of not being too vengeful with your actions. So there is an element of like, there's a community that we're finding around this new moon. So again, reaching out, preaching to the choir, so to speak, might be a good thing to be doing right now, finding where your people are and talking about the things that you want to change in the world. And then rather than trying to go shout at the people that think something different, make an action plan for how to improve things with the people that actually want to collaborate with you. So this is definitely a card of finding your collaborators rather than trying to change the mind of people that have already made up their mind not to be on your team, and to try and make change from within, and to make change through action rather than trying to halt the actions of others. Like, how can you affect positive change by making a plan rather than trying to be vengeful of those that are doing something that's opposing you and stopping them from doing their actions. So it's more an offensive action than a defensive action here. We're looking for a community that can just kind of go out and create positive change in the world rather than protesting the things that they don't want to see happen. Like, there's definitely a different energy of these two things, and there's a time and a place for both. But how can you assist in the positive development of the world around you rather than trying to rail against the negative development around you? And ultimately, they kind of balance each other out. If you can create more energy towards the positive side of things and towards the action that you want to see in the world, that will also kind of hinder the actions of the people that are trying to do the opposite thing. So figure that out. Brainstorm with your community. Again, don't just shout at the masses hoping that you're going to be heard. Talk to the people that are ready to receive your message and that are ready to take action with you. So for now, we're moving on to our 3 oracle card pool. This week, or this month, we are going with the Fuzzy Prism Oracle. We're going to shuffle this up, and again, I'll be pulling 3 cards. A past card to show the energy we're coming out of, and as we enter into this new moon, because the new moon's super transformative, we're definitely leaving some sort of chapter behind, so we'll figure out what that chapter was about. Then we're going to figure out what the energy of this actual new moon is. I'm actually recording this after the new moon has occurred, which is not my normal way of doing things. Usually I record it the day before the new moon, but this month I was called to kind of feel out the energy myself, which was important because a lot of information came in this morning that is now affecting this reading. So you're getting this reading after the new moon and after the eclipse, but the energy is still around for about 48 hours, and the influence of that energy is going to affect how the next month to year of your life unfolds. So we're gonna figure out what that energy is. Like, what was the shift that happened this morning with our second card, and then our third card is going to tell us where we're headed. Okay, so we have surrender, gratitude, and risk. So our past card comes in with surrender. And I'm definitely feeling this energy from the eclipse that happened on the full moon just at the end of last month to this new moon that's happening June 10th. A lot of astrologers and intuitives have been calling it sort of a portal. Like, we're going into this different chapter. Like, this has been a very transformative couple of weeks, and surrender is kind of the way to deal with something that's like big change. So we've been coming from this place of like, oh my God, I don't know how any of this is gonna happen, so I'm just gonna give it all up to the universe and hope that it works out. And because of this new moon eclipse we just went through, we're being called into a place of gratitude, which is interesting because when you're dealing with what I talked about before, energy of being extra emotional, having trouble communicating with people, and also feeling like you're just shouting things into the void and no one's hearing you, it can be hard to feel grateful for things. But the reason that this is the missing piece is if you're feeling those things and you start to feel grateful for the relationships around you, for the world around you, you're really going to start to notice those connections that are part of that tribe, that are part of this Furies energy, that collective that's going to come together and help you to create change in the world. So where are your people? Find gratitude for those connections and then seek them out to help create an action plan. And then moving forward, we're gonna take some risks. So it's another thing that's important about cultivating gratitude is the gratitude is gonna help you to feel a little more stable in your current life, regardless of what the circumstance are. It's about finding gratitude for even the smallest things that are going your way. And that's gonna create a sense of stability that may not be present if you weren't looking at those things that you're now grateful for. And through that stability, you're gonna feel more comfortable taking some risks. So I feel like this porthole is really taking us into a place where we can take these beliefs that we're building this community around. And we can really start to be a little more proactive in a way that we maybe weren't confident enough to do before when we weren't working with others. So this support system is going to be really, really helpful in taking these risks later. But again, you also have that internal work of your gratitude so that you feel stable. So you gave it all up, you found gratitude for what's left, and then eventually, in the next couple months, we're moving into this energy of risk that I think is coming about with that community so that you can affect change in the world around you. So this is very much a global mission reading. So if you feel like you're being called towards some sort of global mission in whatever it is that you do in the world, the rest of this reading might resonate for you as well. So if you are interested in going on with the rest of the reading on the Patreon, again, that's patreon.com/Michelle Shea. The full-time fortune teller level is the level that gets access to these extended readings every month, twice a month. And we're going to be working with the Moon Child Tarot. If you're not supporting on the Patreon and you still want to support this channel, like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. So if you're watching this on Instagram, head over to youtube.com/Michelle Shea Walker and like this video and subscribe to the channel and share the video somewhere, because it sucks, but that's how the algorithm works, and it really helps to affect the traffic and affect the number of people that get to see the message. So if you think that creating energy around a common cause is an important message to share, perhaps that's your way of creating service today. All right, if you are watching this on Patreon, the rest of your reading starts right now.